Hi everyone! First of all, I would like to welcome you to the 29th Summer Institute for the Natural Sciences and Mathematics here in UP Baguio. In the following sessions, you're going to learn many new things that you can share with your students, things about teaching and research in physics, geology, and chemistry. Secondly, I would like to apologize that I can't physically be with you during this time. But I hope you'll be able to learn something new from my presentation, especially in this new field that I am going to present, the field of artificial intelligence, or AI for short. I'm quite sure that you've seen several posts related to artificial intelligence. They are both exciting and perhaps a bit intimidating or maybe even scary. Regardless of what you may feel about AI, the technology is already here. The development is so fast that there's so many applications that are being developed literally every day, and it's hard to keep up. There are applications that have become so popular and useful, and these are what we are going to talk about today. I'm going to show you how to use them and enhance your teaching as well as enhance your students' capabilities. My name is Ian Agulo, and this is AI by IA. If you have no idea what artificial intelligence is, or have little knowledge of how to use AI in your classes, then what you are about to learn may be useful for yourself and even for your students. You don't have to learn how to code to know how to use AI. In fact, it was the NVIDIA founder and CEO Jensen Huang himself that said that students no longer need to learn how to code. Let's watch the video of Jensen explaining how this will work in the World Government Summit in Dubai last February 2024.
I want to talk about education. So today, knowing what you know, seeing what you see, and being at the cutting edge of this technology, what should people focus on when it comes to education? What should they learn? How should they educate their kids and their societies?
Well, excellent question. I'm going to say something, and it's going to sound completely opposite of what people feel. You probably recall over the course of the last 10 years, 15 years, almost everybody who sits on a stage like this would tell you it is vital that your children learn computer science. Everybody should learn how to program. And in fact, it's almost exactly the opposite. It is our job to create computing technology such that nobody has to program, and that the programming language is human. Everybody in the world is now a programmer. This is the miracle. This is the miracle of artificial intelligence. For the very first time, we have closed the gap. The technology divide has been completely closed. And it's the reason why so many people can engage artificial intelligence. It is the reason why every single government, every single industrial conference, every single company is talking about artificial intelligence today. Because for the very first time, you can imagine everybody in your company being a technologist. And so this is a tremendous time for all of you to realize that the technology divide has been closed. Or another way to say it, the technology leadership of other countries has now been reset. The countries, the people that understand how to solve a domain problem in digital biology or in education of young people or in manufacturing or in farming, those people who understand domain expertise now can utilize technology that is readily available to you. You now have a computer that will do what you tell it to do, to help automate your work, to amplify your productivity, to make you more efficient. And so I think that this is just a tremendous time. The impact, of course, is great, and your imperative to activate and take advantage of the technology is absolutely immediate. And also to realize that to engage AI is a lot easier now than at any time in the history of computing. It is vital that we upskill everyone, and the upskilling process, I believe, will be delightful, surprising, to realize that this computer can perform all these things that you're instructing it to do and doing it so easily.
Now, think about what Jensen is saying. The computers currently being developed will be so advanced that you come to a point that you tell AI what to do. If you've watched the movie Iron Man and the Avengers, then you've seen Jarvis, Tony Stark's digital assistant. That is what's coming. AI is inevitable, but there is nothing to be afraid of. My dear educators and colleagues in the academe, this is your first step towards inevitability. Welcome to the beginning of your artificial intelligence journey. If you have any questions, you may ask them later or write them down on a piece of paper and pass it to one of our colleagues. We can describe artificial intelligence as our way to program computers to mimic human intelligence. As early as the 1950s, the algorithm for machine learning has already been developed, but we didn't have compact computers then at the time. After the development of the tabletop computers, one of the first applications of artificial intelligence is playing chess, where the great chess master Garry Kasparov played against an IBM supercomputer called Deep Blue in 1996.
The world was paying a lot of attention, and we weren't quite used to that.
Chess events never get covered like that. It was probably the biggest news coverage for a chess match ever.
We were trying to prove that it was possible to build a chess machine that could beat the best human player in the world.
It's also challenging Kasparov in any way. I mean, he's the pinnacle of chess. He's incredible genius.
There were people who, even if just a few years before, said it was going to take decades to do.
The chess world all expected Kasparov to win because the human had always won before.
We worked very hard in the intervening year to improve Deep Blue in various ways.
I spent a lot of time in the office playing a lot of practice games, looking for lots of errors that needed to be fixed.
And we were pretty confident that it would do better.
But then we got to the match. That was the chance to see, did we make a difference?
Garry Kasparov has arrived.
He was under tremendous stress, I imagine. The program wasn't behaving the way he was expecting.
He thought that he was going to figure out the computer.
And he wasn't mentally prepared for it, I think.
I mean, the whole game was surreal. What was he doing? It didn't really make any sense.
Whoa! Deep Blue has instantly sacrificed with knight captures e6.
Deep Blue was just sitting there and just keep on attacking, just moving pieces around. And he knew he was in trouble.
But at the end, Kasparov he stands up, he starts gesturing, he looks over at his mother. I think having your mother in the room where you're playing an important chess game is not a great idea, as much as I love my mom.
I was dumbfounded and elated at the same time. I was dumbfounded because I never see him behave that way. He never imagined the world champion and actually somebody who I have great respect to be just raising his hand up in surrender.
We demonstrated that there are multiple approaches to solving probably any intellectual problem.
But back then it wasn't the case. Everybody would look at the computer and say, well, yeah, it's good at some things, it calculates, but it doesn't understand anything.
I worked on this for 12 years. So you can imagine how much energy went into it. When I started, I was like, it was done in 5 to 10 years. I was wrong. It took 12. So I was glad it was over, really.
Kasparov won 4 out of 6 games. In 1997, Deep Blue won in a rematch 3.5 times out of 6 games. That early on, we can already see the potential of AI having learned from its mistakes and defeating a chess master. The development of machine learning and its applications really grew in the past 10-15 years, and one can even see applications in natural sciences such as physics, biology, chemistry, and geology. Here in UP Baguio, some of my students use machine learning methods for storm tracking, for the prediction of the development of a storm, for modeling chaotic systems, for solving differential equations, for sleep stage classification, for optimizing air traffic management, and for analyzing diurnal temperature, air quality parameters, and meteorological factors. Just recently, one of my students, Vince Canco, presented his work where he classified a pre-storm, a tropical storm, and a typhoon using existing data obtained from the Himawari 8 satellite. This work is important because the current method employed by Pag-asa is visual. Our meteorologists literally look at the satellite data and then determine at which point the pre-storm becomes a tropical storm, or when a tropical storm becomes a typhoon. We work together with Pag-asa to employ machine learning in order to provide our meteorologists with an additional tool to help them in the classification. Currently, I have one more student who is employing machine learning methods to determine whether a particular image of a pre-storm will evolve into a tropical storm, or whether a particular image of a tropical storm will evolve or not into a typhoon. The success of this work will be an additional tool in the prediction of weather storms and hopefully provide more time to give warnings to the communities. While these tools are being developed by my students, there are already existing tools that you and your students can already use. Here's a list of the few of the artificial intelligence tools that are already available. Of course, we're familiar with ChatGPT. ChatGPT is the first AI bot for use by the general public. You can use it for practically anything you can think of. But we're not yet at that point where we can tell it to do what we want, just like Jensen, the NVIDIA CEO, envisioned. But ChatGPT is the start. In fact, most of these tools that you see in this list use ChatGPT at some level to develop their own tools or their own apps. Today, we're going to look at ChatGPT, Google Bard, or what is now called Gemini, and Perplexity. I'm going to show you how you and your students can use them for your own learnings. ChatGPT stands for Chat Generative Pre-trained Transformer. It uses natural language processing to create human-like conversations. You can talk to ChatGPT just like you would a normal person. Its response is based on a program where all of the information on the internet was used to train it. Just like how a normal person would learn from books, it learned from the information that is available on the internet. Even more amazing is the fact that it can provide contextual answers to questions or requests. So it almost sounds like a human answering your questions. What can it do? It can practically do the work for you. If you ask it to build a resume, just provide it with the information about yourself and it can do it. If you ask it to make a presentation, Just let it know what for, who the audience will be, and it will make the appropriate presentation complete with images and sometimes videos. If you ask it to solve a problem, it will solve it for you. And here we can see the downside. Because it is built on the information provided on the internet, it can also fuel misinformation. It is possible for students to plagiarize reports. And a long-term possible effect is the decrease of human intelligence because of its sole reliance on ChatGPT or similar apps. That's why this talk is called How Not to ChatGPT. The disadvantage of ChatGPT sometimes overshadows its advantages, that we begin to fear it or prevent ourselves and other people not to use it. Like I said earlier, the coming of AI is inevitable. And it is up to us as educators to teach our students to use these tools for their advantages. It is no different from teaching them that a hammer is for building and not for smashing. It's just more challenging to teach them how to use these AI tools properly compared to teaching them how to use a hammer. Let's begin your AI journey. To use ChatGPT, we are going to type in chat.openai.com in our web browser. You may need to log in or create an account to be able to use the free version. Logging in allows ChatGPT to save your queries so that you can return to them at a later time. To log in, you can simply use your Google account. If you don't have a Google account, then just use your other emails. Logging in brings you to the main page of ChatGPT. ChatGPT provides a few examples on how you should type in your queries. To ask a question, you can select the New Chat button. You can type in your questions in the prompt and simply press Enter whenever you are done. The left pane shows a history of all the questions that I've asked since I began to use this tool. In the Settings option, you can manage these chats, archive them if you want to remove them from the pane and you want to return to them in the future, or delete them if you think that you don't need the answers anymore. If you don't want to save any of your chats, you can simply go to Data Controls and unclick the Chat History and Training button. This will prevent ChatGPT to save your queries and use them as training data and delete them in the history browser after 3 days. Keep in mind that if you keep this button on, whatever feedback you provide will be used as training data and will help improve the accuracy of the responses. Here's an example of a response from ChatGPT. You'll notice that the ChatGPT's reply is indistinguishable from another person's response. In fact, it might feel that there's another person on the other end of this website that provides you the answers to your questions in real time. You can even create a follow-up question or revise your question if you feel that ChatGPT's response is insufficient. There's one more thing you need to see. If you look at the top of the page, you'll see the version of ChatGPT that we are using. It's GPT 3.5. We can use the more advanced version GPT 4.0 that has more features, but you will need to subscribe. Basically, the main difference between the free version and the paid version is that in the paid version, the model being used was trained on much more data compared to the model used in the free version. For our purposes, the free version is more than capable. Besides, there are other chatbots that we can use that are more specialized and equally useful to our needs as educators. Let's begin with a simple math question. Let's open a new chat and ask ChatGPT this question. What is 2 plus 7? Of course, 2 plus 7 equals 9, which ChatGPT answered correctly. We can add a follow-up question like this, for example. And ChatGPT's response is, mathematically 2 plus 7 equals 9. If there's any confusion or disagreement, you may want to double check with a calculator or another reliable source to confirm. We can even add a follow-up question and say that my wife is always right. ChatGPT says, it's wonderful to value and respect your partner's perspective. Sometimes, though, there can be misunderstandings or differences in interpretation. In mathematics, 2 plus 7 equals 9 according to standard arithmetic rules. However, maintaining harmony and understanding in your relationship is also important. Perhaps you and your wife can playfully agree to disagree on this particular math problem. You can see how funny the response of ChatGPT is, and it would seem like you're actually talking to a real person. The earliest version of ChatGPT provided this answer to the same question in 2022. Here, it becomes funnier and obvious that ChatGPT does not perform any mathematical operation at all. It knows the information, but does not know how the sum was obtained. When ChatGPT came out, this chat was all over social media. You can see the difference in response of the early version of ChatGPT compared to the latest version. This is the importance of giving feedback to ChatGPT so that we can help improve its accuracy. Let's continue using ChatGPT. This time, let's ask it to solve a simple physics problem. Let's open a new chat. And we type in, solve for the range of a projectile without air resistance. As you can see, it takes no more than a few seconds for ChatGPT to generate an answer. The solution to the range without air resistance is textbook. However, it does not provide an explanation as to how it arrived at the answer. We can revise the question and type in, show the full solution. Now, ChatGPT generates these answers. Here, ChatGPT wrote t is equal to 2v naught y over g without explaining what or how this solution was obtained. It also did not explain how it arrived at the final expression for the range. ChatGPT did not actually provide us a full solution, and this is why we need to provide feedback, so that it learns that in the next time, when somebody asks the same question, it can provide a full solution. It is not the weakness of this AI tool that is the cause of this insufficient answer. We also did not provide it a proper question, but a general query. From this example, you can see the significance of typing in a good prompt. In fact, typing in the appropriate response is a whole new course in of itself. It's called prompt engineering, and it teaches you how to provide the correct prompt that will give you the answer that you actually need. To give you a crash course on how to give better prompts, let's watch this video.
Let's dive into the world of ChatGPT prompts and how to optimize them for better results. For example, write a blog post about the top 5 destinations for digital nomads. This is a very basic prompt or instruction. Even still, I've got quite a good result here. It's got the top 5 destinations, but this could be seriously optimized with a better prompt. So I want to introduce you to the RICE framework. This is what it looks like. RICE stands for Role, Instructions, Context, Constraints, and Examples. And let's build up this prompt step by step, and you're going to see the incredible difference that it makes. Now, a note that creating prompts like this is really known as prompt engineering, and people are making a fortune doing this because of the results that the right prompts can get. And people are even selling their prompts now. It's like their own personal IP. It's an incredible opportunity. So this is going to be the basic process, and who knows, you might even start doing this for yourself. And the first thing you need to do is assign a role to ChatGPT. What I'm going to do is, as we're trying to write a travel blog, I'm going to assign the role as a travel writer. And next we need to provide the instructions. So I'm going to ask it to research and describe the top 5 destinations, include information on cost of living, internet connectivity, and co-working spaces, share tips on visas, and consider cultural experiences, etc. Next, we want to move on to context. You could say who your target audience is for this blog, or maybe you want simple language, or it needs to be up to date. I'm going to say this is aimed at aspiring digital nomads looking for their next adventure. Now, constraints. This is also important. You want to set the boundaries for ChatGPT to keep it on track. So here are some examples. Keep the blog post between 1,500 and 2,000 words. Ensure the content is up to date, and use a friendly and informative tone throughout. Finally, we're going to move on to providing some examples. This can be a really good way to get the results that you want. I've just copied in here a paragraph from an article that I liked the writing style of. It was friendly and it contained some of the information. So looks a little bit messy there, but we've got our RICE framework. Let's hit enter and see how much better this is than our basic prompt. Already, I think this looks a lot better. We've got an opening paragraph. Are you an aspiring digital nomad looking for your next adventures? This is who the target audience is. It's much more eye-catching. If we look back and we can see this here, the introduction for our basic prompt wasn't that great, but here you can see it's got a great opening paragraph. It's written very user-friendly. It looks like it's written by a human. Bali is a paradise for digital nomads. Lisbon is the European gem of digital nomads. Medellin, known as the city of eternal spring. Chiang Mai, hotspot for years. That's much better written because our prompt was much better. Now, the good news is you don't have to come up with all of the stuff like I showed you there. I filled in all of those items one by one, which you might be thinking, oh, that looks like a lot of work. But what you can just say is, I want you to write a blog post about the top 5 destinations. Help me create an optimized prompt using the RICE framework. You can list it out like that. Just hit enter. And this will generate, and you can see, this is almost better than what I did. Your role as a travel blogger, and you're writing this, here's instructions. And so you can take the prompt that ChatGPT gave you, the optimized prompt, you could optimize it even further and then use that. So try it out for yourself. The better your prompts, the better your outputs.
So we can use the RICE technique to provide a prompt that will give us a good answer to our queries. Again, RICE stands for Role, Instructions, Context, Constraints, and Examples. Let's use this to improve our physics question. First, let's provide the role. We type in, you are an excellent physicist. Then we provide the instructions. Derive an expression for the range of a projectile without air resistance with an initial speed v0 fired at an angle theta. Next, we provide the context. explain the solution to a high school student of physics. Then we provide a constraint. The initial and final velocity, the initial and final vertical positions of the projectile is at the same level. In solving physics problems, we don't really need to provide an example, since the problem itself is already an example problem. Let's go now to ChatGPT. Let's open a new chat, type in our new prompt, and press enter. Would you look at this response? It provided great detail in the derivation with precise explanations, almost like how you read them off a book of a classical mechanics textbook. Let's change the context so that this time we allow it to explain the solution to a college student. Now it provided an even better solution with more detail. This time, I believe it's much clearer compared to our previous solutions. I want to go back a bit and show you a couple of features that you can possibly have use for in the future. First, let's take a look at our question. Notice that when I changed the context, it actually generated a new question, but retained the old question with the corresponding response. This is why we need to turn on Chat History and Training button. In this way, we can go back to our earlier questions and their corresponding response. Secondly, it would be good to provide some feedback to ChatGPT. I'm going to go ahead and create a new chat to solve for the range of an object that undergoes air resistance. Here's the prompt. You are an excellent physicist. Derive an equation of motion for the horizontal and vertical components of an object fired at an angle theta with respect to the horizontal. Derive an equation of motion for the horizontal and vertical velocity components of an object fired at an angle theta with respect to the horizontal. The object experiences air resistance with a drag coefficient of v. The drag coefficient k is proportional to the velocity v. That's the prompt, and here's ChatGPT's reply. We can see that the solution proposed by ChatGPT is somewhat incorrect. Okay. First of all, the net acceleration along the horizontal axis should be 0. Okay. If there is no drag force along the horizontal, we end up with a velocity that is constant with respect to time. Secondly, the acceleration along the vertical axis should be equal to the first derivative of the velocity with respect to time. The net forces should include the weight of the object and the velocity that is proportional to the first power of v, as we have written here in our question. Okay, so here we see that the solution provided by ChatGPT is totally incorrect, and we can give it a feedback by clicking this bad response. Now, since none of these choices provide us with a reason why we're giving it a bad response, we click more and add in our response. The solution you provided is incorrect. The velocity or the drag force should be proportional to the first power of velocity. Secondly, the acceleration along the vertical axis is equated to the first derivative of the velocity with respect to time. Thirdly, the net or the forces involved in the motion of the object were incorrectly identified. We click submit, and then it thanks us for giving it the feedback. Hopefully, when somebody asks the same question, it can provide a much better solution than it has provided us at this time. Let's do one more exercise. Let's create a new chat, and then let's say we want to learn about machine learning, but don't know where to start. So, following the RISE method, we let ChatGPT its role. You are the god of machine learning and artificial intelligence. And then let's give it some instructions. I want to learn about machine learning. I have no idea what it is, and I don't know where to start. Can you provide a roadmap on what lessons I should learn? Yeah. What lessons I should learn? Let's now give it a context. Well, we have actually provided it some context because we said that we have no idea what it is and we don't know where to start. So we essentially said that the level of knowledge about machine learning that we have is 0. And let's provide it some constraints. I have some knowledge of coding in Python and MATLAB, or let's say some little knowledge. And I would also like to learn how to code, or how to perform machine learning in code. Okay, let's see what ChatGPT does. Okay. If you were this person, would the response of ChatGPT be helpful to you? The response of ChatGPT was, first of all, It's a good idea to start by solidifying your understanding of Python basics. And you can do this through online tutorials, books, or interactive platforms like Code Academy, DataCamp, or Udemy. Okay. And then his second suggestion is to learn about the mathematics of machine learning. So focusing on linear algebra, calculus, probability, and statistics, and we can learn all of these in Khan Academy, in Coursera, and edX, since they offer excellent courses on these subjects. Next is we learn about machine learning, starting with the basics of machine learning by following online courses like Andrew Ng's machine learning course on Coursera or Introduction to Machine Learning with Python by Andreas C. Mueller and Sarah Guido. Okay. Then we learn about Python libraries, so such as NumPy, Pandas, and Matplotlib for data manipulation and visualization, and scikit-learning for implementing machine learning algorithms. Then we go to deep learning, okay, which is a subfield of machine learning focusing on neural networks. We start with the understanding of basic neural networks and move to deep learning frameworks such as TensorFlow or PyTorch. You can also follow these courses in the deep learning specialization on Coursera by Andrew Ng. Then we need to apply what we've learned by working on projects, starting with simple projects and gradually increasing complexity. Kaggle is a great platform where you can find data sets and participate in competitions to practice your skills. Once we've done that, you can explore more advanced topics such as reinforcement learning, natural language processing, and computer vision. Natural language processing, by the way, is the machine learning field that is being used by ChatGPT. There are many online resources, research papers, and courses available on these topics. And of course, you have to stay updated, okay, since the field of machine learning and AI is rapidly evolving. Let's tweak our response a bit. And let's say that we want to learn all of these within 6 months. To be a master in machine learning within 6 months. Okay, save and submit. Being proficient in machine learning within 6 months is an ambitious goal, but with dedication and a structured learning plan, it's certainly achievable. Here's a roadmap to guide you through the process. Now, this looks more like a roadmap. Since in the first month, we need to learn about the foundations of Python and basic mathematics. In the second and third month, we need to understand what machine learning is, learn its basics, and learn about these Python libraries, okay, and these terminologies that are used in machine learning. And then in months 4 and 5, we can learn about feature engineering, dimensionality reduction, clustering, and ensemble learning, which are all machine learning topics that describe how much you've learned about how much a machine has learned. And then in month 6, we learn about, we go through the advanced topics and go through some projects, okay. And then some additional tips, okay. So of course, we practice regularly, stay updated, and seek help and resources. And then of course, skill is developed by really working on these projects. What have we learned thus far? ChatGPT is nowhere near perfect. It still needs your feedback. It still needs to be double-checked, and you can let the students do the double-checking. You can let your guard down and let your students use this tool in doing their work. critical thinking is still necessary in analyzing the results. In fact, with a good lesson plan, you can actually use these tools to improve and enhance the critical thinking skills of your students. It's better if this was done in a classroom environment rather than give this to them as an assignment. In that way, we can still guide them as teachers in their analysis. Using these tools allows the students to improve on their own mistakes. What should be the appropriate prompt to get the correct response? I believe that by letting them use these tools, we train them to become a new breed of scientists, one that is not only equipped with the mathematical tools and scientific background, but also one that is ready for whatever AI may bring. At this time, I would like you to try ChatGPT and spend about 15 to 20 minutes to ask ChatGPT your own questions related to your own fields in chemistry, geology, or mathematics or physics. Or if you have other questions that you have in mind, just ask it. Our colleague will guide you through the process. It is not necessary, but if you want me to take a look at your work, then what you can do is to choose the topic you want to share, click on the three dots, click Share, click Update and copy link, open your email, paste the link on the message, type in the topic SINSM 2024, type in my email address, iaagulo@up.edu.ph, then click Send to send me the link. We'll resume at 11:10 to take a look at what the other AI chatbots can do for you and your students to be more productive in your work.